In this episode, I try and stop the fuel starvation issue with a swirl pot. We look at bulkheads in the Blue Book. I fix the broken seat in the Ignis. And we do some motorsport for only 20 quid. When we did the South Downs stages at Goodwood, we had a bit of a problem with the fuelling system. When we let the tank run down to about quarter full, on the long sweeping bends, what would happen is all the fuel would slosh to one side of the tank and the pump had nothing to pump but air.
Sounds like it's running dry.
We solved this problem on the day by making sure that the tank was always topped up. When it was topped up, the pump would pump properly and it was all good to go. Now the tank is baffled. It's not foam filled, but even with that baffling, obviously it's sloshing around a bit. So when I came back, I asked my mates, patrons and teammates how we should try and solve this problem. Some of the suggestions were really valid, such as putting a sump into the bottom of our fuel tank. Now, unfortunately, the floor in the back of the Mini is dead flat. And if I was going to put a sump in it, I'd actually have to drill a hole in the floor. And I didn't really want to do that, especially when we start doing gravel rallies. One of my mates even suggested that I tilt the fuel tank at an angle so that the outlet was always at the bottom. I immediately dismissed that until I saw a YouTube video of Pikes Peak where one of the teams had done exactly that. I don't want to do that, but obviously it works. The simplest solution in my eyes was to fit the standard fuel tank back in because, you know, you're never going to get a fuel starvation issue and it solves a few other problems. However, where this was an old rallycross Mini, it's got massive turrets where the coilover shocks were. So I'd either have to modify the fuel tank or I'd have to start chopping the car around again. Either of those options are going to take quite a bit of work. However, my mate said, you know what, I'll make you a swirl pot. Brilliant idea. There we go. That'll solve it. The way that I'd built the Mini, it's got these plates in the back so I can mess around and do things. The aluminium plate on the left holds the pre-filter and the pump. The plate on the right basically just held my toolkit. So why not modify that plate, fit a swirl pot, good to go. So after a bit of messing around, sort of prototyping what I wanted to do, my mate produced this lovely aluminium swirl pot. All I had to do was paint it, stick it in, job's a good un. Super chuffed to bits with this. Again, thank you very much, Dean, for fabricating it. I've painted it all up. It looks flipping amazing. It really does. So now all I need to do is to connect it and see what happens. Hopefully I'll do that during the week. Oh, would that it were so simple. Go on, what film's that from? Well, that looks the part, doesn't it? So it's finally plumbed in. I still need to do a couple of little jobs. So let me explain how I've set this up. So originally the fuel came out of here and went into that pre-filter, to that pump, to the regulator filter, and then off to the engine. So now with the swirl pot, I've put a bung in there and put another fitting here. So this fitting, thanks to my modular aluminium plates, the fuel now comes out of there into a second fuel pump, into the top of the swirl pump, swirls around, fills up the pot, and then it will overflow back into the tank. So constantly the fuel is just going round and round and round. So now, no matter what that does, that tank, which is now my petrol tank, is always going to be full. Think of this as like my reservoir, that's my fuel tank. And so now, from the bottom of the swirl pot, this pipe comes all the way around into the pre-filter, into the pump, into the regulator, main filter, and then off to the carb.
Everybody got that?
That's taken an awful lot of plumbing. Thank you very much for Dean for making me my custom swirl pot, which is brilliant. Lots more AN fittings, which unfortunately are a little bit expensive. And that's what I need to do now. I just need to go around my AN fittings to make sure they're tight, because there's no fuel in here at the moment, because I had to undo obviously these. And to do that, I had to empty the tank. So I'm going to make sure everything's tight, and then we're going to test the electrics. How's that sound? Here's my box of AN bits and bobs that I've accumulated. So that's the original hose that went from the left-hand side of the tank to the pre-filter. I kept that, and I still want to keep that, because if that system cocks up, at least I can swap that round. What did I come in here for? Spanners, of course. These are the right size, but they're big, fat aluminium ones, so they're not going to damage the delicate AN fittings. There we go. Oh yeah, that one was loose. Always worth checking. Right, next task. I just want to check the wiring. What I've done is I've connected this pump to the wiring for the main pump. It's the same thing on the same switch. Originally, I wanted 2 switches on the dashboard, because why would you not? You know, pump 1, pump 2, or swirl pot pump, main pump. Be brilliant, wouldn't it? But more switches, isn't it? More wiring. My main reason for wanting 2 switches is to diagnose an issue, but of course I can do that now. I can just unplug each pump, because I've got these super seal connectors that I've put on there. I've unplugged this pump, so I'm going to turn on the ignition, turn on the pump, and hopefully only that pump will fire. That one works. So I'm now going to disconnect that pump, connect that pump. So this is the swirl pot pump. Oh yeah, different tone. Same pump, different tone, probably because there's a bit of fluid still in that one, whereas this is a freshie. Connect both. We should get this in stereo. Oh, brilliant. I think all I'm going to do now is put some fuel in the tank. Bin juice. Those that are patrons and YouTube members will know all about bin juice and how I fund the petrol for my cars. All I'm going to say is this was paid for by a set of boat speakers, a solar panel, a hoover that didn't work, a few other things. Right, if you've never seen this system before, this is really good for transferring fuel into your fuel tank. This hand pump isn't actually pumping the fuel. What this does is just that's a word to say, pressurizes the jerry can. So it has a proper seal on here, it pressurizes it, the fuel is then forced up the hose and out of here, and it's really, really quick and efficient, and we're off. There are some venues or events where they will not let you pour petrol. They won't let you do it. You know, if you get the old jerry can out and the funnel, just, you know, they won't let you do it. You have to do a pumping system. Almost there. There it goes. That is a whole jerry can of fuel. What are these? 20 litres? No. Yeah, 20 litres. So super efficient. No risk of pouring petrol all over your hot exhaust or whatever. And that's why, I'm guessing, marshals and event organisers prefer you to use a pump. Bin juice. Right, I'm doing this all on my own, so you're going to have to be my service crew helpers and tell me if I get any leaks. So if you see any leaks, please put it in the comments below. Right, I'm going to disconnect this pump, just so you know. All right, so all we're testing now is that circuit. Fuel's going to come out of here, in there, around the swirl pot, hopefully out of there, back into the tank. Yes, we will get fuel in there possibly, but let's see what happens. So if this works, if it pumps, the pump will be very noisy to start with, and then it will quieten down as it starts to pump. Spitfire! Can you hear it? Can't see it. We're always getting Spitfires fly over the Isle of Wight. Oh, there it goes. It's pumping fuel. Well, the good news is there's no leaks, absolutely nothing. It's testament to these AM fittings, really, that they're that good. That's why they use them in motorsport and all sorts of other things. Aviation, I believe they use them as well. So I think what I'm going to do then is I'm going to connect the second pump, because that was banging because it was empty, wasn't it? So if that stops banging, we know that it's getting fuel from the swirl pot. Makes sense to me, doesn't it? All right, keep an eye out for leaks, please. Best connect it really at night. That would help. No, it didn't do what I expected it to do. Is it because that's not pressurized? I'm struggling with words today. Is it because that's not pressurized? Because it's not, is it? Everything post pump is basically atmospheric pressure, isn't it? So if you have two outlets for the pump, it's going to pump fuel through the pipe with least resistance, isn't it? Which is that one. Why would it even bother pushing fuel through there? It's relying purely on the suction from that one, isn't it? So do I need to prime that to work? Yes, you probably do. Or block that. I don't think I've got any extra bungs. Oh no, I've got a bung. I've got a bung. Secret project's got a bung. Those that know about college. I've said no, I said too much. I said too much. Ta-da! Look, I've got another AN6 bung. Yes. Right, so what I'm going to do then, I'm going to crack that off. Please tell me if I'm doing something stupid, because I am making all of this up as I go along. Process of elimination. So now let's work this out. Fuel is going to come out of here, into the swirl pot pump, into the top of the pump, and it is now not going to come out the top. It's now going to travel along here, both pumps on. We made some noise. That made all the right noises. Okay, the only thing about these fittings is you do have to be very, very delicate with the threads, because it's aluminium to aluminium thread. You have to make sure, you cannot cross thread these threads. If you cross thread them, you've knackered both fittings. And that would mean that you've gacked the thread on the fuel tank. That's going to be an arse to redo, isn't it? And you've gacked the thread on the fitting, which is about a tenner. So yeah, if it feels wrong in any way, stop tightening. Stop tightening, rejigger everything. Should you or could you lube? People that know about AN6ing, does it pay to lube the threads? And what would you lube it with if you did? Again, I don't know, and I'd love to know. One thing that I am going to do in the future is put some LED lights inside the boot, because I mean, if it's dark for you, imagine how dark it is when the service crew are working on it at night. All right, let's turn it on. Right, I'm super happy with that. Very happy. No leaks. No leaks. However, Fuel pressure on this system is regulated by the old style, what is it, Filter King regulator. There's nothing wrong with it. It works really, really well. It's the only old school bit of tech in the fueling system apart from the Weber carburetor. Everything else is all, you know, very, very nice modern stuff. But what pressure am I running at? I think you're ideally not supposed to run above 3 psi on a Weber carb. It doesn't need any more, and it apparently doesn't like it either. So on eBay, I managed to pick up a bit of a bargain. I run stack gauges on the Mini, and I picked up a stack fuel pressure gauge, an electric one. I'm going to do that. I'm going to install the stack electric fuel pressure gauge. More gauges. Everyone loves gauges, don't they? Right, let's crack on.
It's showtime.
I'm sure you're all aware that the London to Brighton run unfortunately has come to an end. It's a shame. I've done it a few times, thoroughly enjoyed it, and you're probably desperately looking for a replacement. How about the West Country Mini owners' Isle of Wight adventure? They basically book out a red funnel ferry, come over to the island, camp at Sandown Airport where there's rocker cover racing and trade stands, and then go off for adventures around the island. There's even organised cruises and treasure hunts. This year's event is happening on the 9th and the 10th of September. Go and find them, book a space, come and have some fun. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank our Patreons. Their support is so appreciated as it helps support the channel in so many different ways. If you'd like to be kept bang up to date with current projects and events, see additional behind the scenes footage, and effectively be a virtual member of the team, then maybe consider becoming a patron yourself. Pop over to our Patreon page and check it out. There's plenty to see, even without signing up. Again, thank you so much. Your support is hugely appreciated. The Motorsport UK Yearbook, often known as the Blue Book, contains all the rules and regulations for motorsport governed by Motorsport UK. And this time we're going to look at bulkheads. Engine components, suspension components, or any fluid has to be separated from the driving compartment by sealed bulkheads. If you decide to move any of those things inside of the bulkheads, it's not really a problem, as long as those components have their own individual bulkheads. For example, a battery, because that will need its own proper battery box. All different disciplines within Motorsport UK have their own little, the things that they allow and don't allow. Rallying is different to sprinting, to auto testing. However, this bulkhead thing runs through all the different classes. Please check the Blue Book, make sure that you are compliant, because the last thing you want to do is turn up at scrutineering and not be able to do the motorsport that you've came to do. More Blue Book on the Bog next month. Well, the Ignis is going on a bit of a diet, pulling out all the seats and the trim, which is cool. I took these seats out, and then I noticed this, look. Uh-oh, seat mount had broken. This was actually down in there. So somehow, that's bad, isn't it? Oh, it's a wet Saturday evening. Now, you'd think that's the job done. But no. Because I disconnected the battery to do some welding, I thought I'd better at least start the car to make sure I haven't fried any of the electronics. Can't find the key. Where's the key? It's the night before the event and I can't find the key. Sometimes, just sometimes.
Early the next morning.
Nope, couldn't find the key. However, I do have a spare. So, let's go racing.
Right, here we are. This is round 6 of the Isle of Wight Car Club, and we're auto testing again, forward only auto test in our Ignis, and it's a unsealed surface event. So it's on grass, it's great fun. Big wide open area, nothing to hit. Luckily, I fixed the seat and we're good to go. I want to see you launch like that now.
I told you I need a supercharger.
You're going to get to experience what it's like to be in a rally car. Nice. Do you know you can be a rally navigator from the age of 14? Yeah. See how you get on today. Schoolgirl error, Kathy. It's Alfie the cat's owner. You enjoying your first event, mate?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, really
enjoyed
good.
it. Bit of fun.
Shame I couldn't bring him.
Running low on cones, look. Nice work, sir, well done. Yeah, we're fine, here we fine. Oh, I don't know. Do you reckon? Is that your fine work, Sue? Yeah. Mate, are you holding that all on your own?